Wow, Lubie, I'm happy that you took this into consideration because I was thinking you would be the hardest guy to move off of this mark. We discussed this briefly yesterday. I'm looking at my alarm clock every morning and thinking, why is this set for 5:30? This is the age of streaming. We're just clinging to an old concept here about morning drive radio that is no longer relevant. People don't even go to work anymore. Now, that was one of the few, if you can take positives away from the COVID-19 period of time, that was one thing, this change, transformation, where there wasn't so much pressure on you to get up in the morning, go flying out of the house, get immersed into just hideous traffic, get all nerved out about driving to work, and by the time you get there, you're a schwitzing, psychotic mess. And then right away, the boss starts screaming at you about something you didn't finish up correctly yesterday, and you just have a miserable day. Here you have a cup of coffee, you pet the dog, maybe even take it for a walk like you were doing, and you say, wow, life is good.
The time!
Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Great to be with you. We should start with like a song, should we not today? Mike Lubie Lubitz, a little "Take me out to the ball game, take me out to the crowd, buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jack, then check your wallet and see if you'll ever come back." Now, you might have to make some adjustments about the concessions there, but nonetheless, big baseball day. And I woke up with a ton of enthusiasm, right? So my usual routine is after scrambling around and doing some things, have a little breakfast, make some coffee, do my thing in the bathroom there, take a shower, shit, shave, shampoo. There you go. You actually have the song. Huh?
Oh, Happy Day. I don't have Take Me Out to the
Happy Day. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Wow, I thought you had to take me out to the ball game working out.
Happy Day.
So, hey, and I usually zip on to the easiest site for me to find. I'm not a huge internet reader. I mean, I look up stuff on the internet all the time, but I'm not one to comb like ESPN and this and that and that and that. I mean, how many sports sites are there, Lubie? What would you say?
Thousands, I would think. Hundreds.
Thousands, right? So I usually, and it's not the greatest, but it's, comfortable for me. I pop on CBS Sportsline, because I can find things there that I'm looking for, like today's baseball schedule, scores, whatever, pretty easily. And their stories are okay. But I wake up with this, I'm absolute wave of enthusiasm for baseball. And then I look at the headlines. Well, I guess we should start here. This is a great picture. This is my favorite Trump picture so far. I don't know if you can see that, Louis. He's flanked by two cops, and he's got that screaming face. Like he was just found guilty in one of these cases.
Yeah, he looked like a lunatic yesterday. Oh my God, he's really
a lunatic. It can't all be like this conspiracy against him.
No.
Did you see that thing with Garland, the Attorney General, on 60 Minutes? By any chance, you see that interview, Scott Pelley and Garland? Yeah, the whole idea that this guy Garland is acting on the idea that he has been weaponized by Joe Biden is as absurd as anything I've ever seen. If you saw the interview with this guy, and now either he is the greatest actor in the world, or there's no way that there is any influence going in this direction. Now, I mean, maybe that's a little bit naive to think that there's zero influence, but I don't think in this case, in these cases, that has anything to do with the weaponizing of the Department of Justice as being stipulated by the Republicans, who don't seem to feel that it's been weaponized when they're, charging Hunter Biden with this bogus gun charge that nobody's ever been charged with.
What it is the lady doth protest too much. It's Trump. It was really the president doesn't use Department of Justice. The Department of Justice is supposed to keep the president in check, actually. The president actually has not much to do with the Department of Justice until Trump. Remember, Trump is the one that didn't understand what the president was. He thought he was a king.
Yeah.
He didn't understand that the Attorney General, even though he appoints him, actually checks out everything. The Attorney General
checks and balances. That's what we're all about here in America.
Like, you appoint them, but they're actually supposed to keep you in check. Like, Trump didn't understand any of that because he doesn't really know what the president does. He just thought he was a CEO or something. So he ran it that way. So he's assuming, well, if I did it that way, that's how everyone does it. No, you fuckhead. That's only how you did it. No one else does it that way because he's not a king.
He really looked like an asshole yesterday, I have to say. I mean, You talk about Fran Tarkenton scrambling. Remember when Tarkenton used to run this way and that way, and he was 40 yards behind the line of scrimmage, and then he would do a reverse, spin out of a tackle, and then take off again, and then he'd run up to the line of scrimmage, but then he would run back. That's kind of what it looked like, a mad scramble yesterday to try and save whatever. The whole concept that this is good for the country is a little bit far-fetched, is it not? And that somehow the only guy that's being attacked is Donald Trump. Everybody else is getting a fair shake. It does seem a little bit odd. Anyway, so there's a wave of negativity on this CBS Sports line, and that almost pales in comparison. I'm thinking there are going to be stories about, and I guess there were about the baseball playoffs. We have the Marlins going today. They actually play in the what you consider this the feature game, the late night game on ESPN, Miami and Philadelphia. It's going to be Wheeler against Luzardo. And we know that the Marlins pitching staff has been decimated. They don't have a whole lot of fumes that they're operating on when it comes to the pitching staff going into this possible three-game series, best of three against the Philadelphia Phillies. Team that really surged there. I think they won 8 of their last 11 during the regular season. They pulled away in the wild card chase, about a month ago. They opened up a big gap there on Arizona, the Cubs, the Reds, and the Marlins. Marlins managed to work their way in there. That was phenomenal. And even playing one less game, they still managed to qualify because that game against the Mets never was finished. Didn't have to be. The Marlins had already qualified ahead of the Arizona Diamondbacks, so they didn't have to decipher who was going to go against Milwaukee versus who was going to go against Philadelphia. I don't know that it matters that much. I think the Marlins are up against it anyway. They're like 50-1 to win the World Series. Would you take a flyer on that? 50-1? No.
I don't think you have the time. I just really don't. I hope they keep proving me wrong. I wrote them off starting like a month ago. So
well, you would think. I mean, obviously, a huge edge to all of the higher seeds that are involved in these series, and you have the home games all taking place in one park.
Yep.
Which I don't have a big problem with that. It does seem unusual. I don't know that there's a better way to do it. You do want to reward. What I like about it as an old fart is that it does place more meaning on the regular season. And in this case, every game of the regular season. And we saw adding the extra wild card team in made a lot of games meaningful in the final weekend of the season. I think there were still 5 positions to be determined out of the 12 that were going into the playoffs. Huge reward for having the best record in the regular season in your league. Top 2 records get buys. And that's a big advantage. They don't have to play this 2 out of 3 series. The one-game proposition really did seem kind of odd, didn't it, to play 162 games and then have your postseason fate decided in just a one-shot deal. You don't know how your rotation's set up, depending on how it was that you made it into the postseason. You might be in a really compromised position going into that one-game playoff. So I think this gives everybody more of a fair shot. And the fact that the lower seed does not get a home game, even if it goes 3, I don't have a big problem with that. It's the reward. It just enhances the meaning of doing well throughout the entire regular season, not throwing in the towel. You may have things clinched, but you don't have everything clinched. The Braves, I guess, late in the year finally clinched home field advantage throughout. Yet it added just a tremendous amount of excitement to the last couple of weeks of the regular season. So don't have a problem with that. All of the home teams, you would imagine, would be somewhat heavily favored to win these series. So you have Texas and Tampa starting it out. Tampa Bay sending out Glasnow against Montgomery. The Blue Jays take on Minnesota, 4:38. That first game's 3:08. 4:38. So you're going to have to be flipping back and forth if you're a big-time baseball fan.
Yeah.
Pablo Lopez going for Minnesota, going against Toronto and Gausman. Pablo had a good season this year. It was one of those trades where both teams made out. Pablo did well for Minnesota. They ended up winning their division. And, of course, Louis Arise did something. We didn't really mention this again. We brought it up several times that never before in Major League Baseball history, unprecedented and very unlikely to happen again. Certainly in my lifetime, maybe not even in yours, Louis, but where a guy leads the American League in batting one year and the National League the next, even if it's vice versa, National League, American League, to lead both leagues in hitting in subsequent years, I don't think that's going to happen again. I really don't. The likelihood of the league batting champion being traded out of the league is, suspect at best. I mean, very prohibitive, and that he could do it again in the other league. Usually some kind of adjustment, right? You haven't seen these pitchers as much. But supposedly the National League pitching historically has been better than American League pitching.
Yep.
Or whatever you believe on that. The ERAs in the American League were always inflated somewhat compared to the National League because of the designated hitter being only in the one league. That's not the case anymore. But phenomenal accomplishment. So we'll see if Miami, 8 o'clock tonight against Philadelphia, Wheeler and Luzardo can get something done. The other series is Arizona at Milwaukee. Milwaukee's heavily favored there. Arizona sending out Burns, and Milwaukee has Burns, and who's Fat? Pfaadt. Who is that guy?
I don't know.
Never heard of this guy.
Where's our guy? Where's
Fat with the Diamondbacks?
talking about it, the guy that the Marlins traded to.
Zach. What is it? Ellen?
Gallon. Zach
Gallen.
Gallen.
Zach Gallen. Yeah. Zach Gallen, I don't know. Maybe he just didn't line up right in the rotation because they were trying to win games at the end of the year. But nonetheless, very exciting day. So amidst all of that, Lubie, amidst all of that, these were the headlines. Just a sea of negativity, CBS Sportsline. Is that what it is all about right now, being a sports fan? You just have to hate on everybody. Everything is negative. Nothing is good. So I'll go through them here. There were a total of 6 headlines, and all of them were depressing if you were a sports fan. Seahawks corner latest to rip Daniel Jones. That was headline number 1.
I mean, he's horrendous.
Who isn't dumping on Daniel Jones? I mean, the guy had 2 picks last night, a pathetic fumble that was almost returned for a touchdown. One of the interceptions was a pick 6. Brian Daboll, who's been Mr. I'm all about the players. These guys are great. They're going to do it. That was a quick turnaround, right? 1 season of Cinderella ride, and now he's seen leaving the sideline. Jones is like deep on the bench, sitting down somewhere, like way away from Daboll, and he just races over there and starts getting in his face and saying, "What kind of chump are you?" So that relationship seems to have gone south. That's $160 million of Giants money. That wow, doesn't look good. Now he was scrambling for his life.
Yeah, their offensive line sucks. It does.
Yeah.
But there's ways to get around it where you're not just handing the ball to the other team.
It was ugly. I mean, he looked absolutely lost out there. Seahawks defense looked like the doomsday defense.
Exactly.
You would have thought that was a steel curtain that the Giants were going against. So they lose. The player, Devin Witherspoon, who had one of the pick 6s, or the pick 6, said, we knew he likes to stare down his first receiver.
Oh, Jesus.
Never a good thing.
Oh, my God.
The Giants had been ripping, not the Giants, the 49ers had been ripping Daniel Jones prior to that, saying that he sucks. So in spite of the fact that he did rally the team against, Arizona when they were down by like 30 points and got the Giants' lone win, the Giants look, extremely suspect coming into Hard Rock Stadium next week. And all of those people that were paying tons of money. I mean, I can't tell you how many people asked me, Lubie, to see if I could get them Giants tickets, which I have zero connections on. I did manage to get Big Rich a pair at face value. I just happened to come across a guy and was going to unload them, and he was very generous in not inflating the price of the tickets to what they were going for on the secondary market, which was nosebleeds were going for like $300 a pop, Louis. $300 a pop for nosebleeds. They must have juiced up the prices, though, at Hard Rock Stadium.
I'm sure.
Upper deck seats are like over $100 a pop now.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Upper deck, shitty tickets in the end zone. Face value was like 108 or something like that. I remember those tickets used to be like $30.
Yeah. It was always.
Yeah, then again, a hamburger used to be a quarter at like a fancy restaurant. Now that was like $20. So, Mr. Old School. But anyway, so that's headline number 1. They're dissing Daniel Jones at a moment where, it's not a particularly flattering moment for Daniel Jones right now, is it? Giants stink. They were coming off a season last year where they showed some promise, but at the same time, a lot of people thought they were generating a bunch of false hope and that they weren't going to be very good this year.
Yep.
All right, second headline. Ex-NFL player calls Wilson garbage. About Zach Wilson. So you got Seahawks corner ripping Daniel Jones. That's headline number 1. Number 2 is ex-NFL player calls Zach Wilson garbage. And this relates to a post-game show. Rodney Harrison was on the post-game show.
He went in.
And he was talking to Chris Jones of the Chiefs. Now, Wilson had just had like an unbelievable ball game. Even Joe Willie took the hairpiece off and said, you know what? This kid ain't so bad. Maybe there's some promise there. Showed some promise, did he not, Zach Wilson? He was good in that ball game. He wasn't terrible, that's for sure.
He wasn't. I think what it is he wasn't terrible because the praise Collinsworth was lauding on him was regular throws NFL quarterback. He's like, wow, he threw it to the back shoulder. I'm like, yeah, well, you had to.
Isn't the back shoulder throw most of the time a mistake and the guy just makes a good catch?
That's my thing. It usually is the quarterback threw it late.
Yeah.
It wasn't Tua. Like Tua has a history of being accurate. So when he does something, you're like, oh, he's accurate. When a guy has a history of being inaccurate, when he's finally accurate, it was like Collinsworth was waiting for anything good to try and heap praise onto Wilson. And the rest of us were like, okay. Look, he made some throws on that one drive. Was it out of half? That was impressive. Like the kid obviously has some talent. He was drafted.
He has a decent arm and he can run.
Well, obviously, like I didn't like him in that draft compared to the other guys, and they've all sucked. So it didn't matter now whether it was Fields or Mac Jones or Lance or Wilson. Take your pick; they're all horrendous. Yes. But I didn't like Wilson so much, but I didn't think he sucked. Like the kid obviously has some talent.
No, he had a decent game there.
He was fine. He was fine, but it was like Collinsworth was acting as though he was Mahomes, and it was like, no, he sucks tonight, and Wilson is playing okay, and that's fine. Good for him.
Hyperbole, yeah. I mean, I was just spewing out of Collinsworth's mouth there, and if he threw a pick, he probably would have turned right around and said, Jesus, would have been right there with Harrison. This guy's garbage. That seemed a little bit over the top, though. I mean, to ask Chris Jones, the Kansas City Chiefs defensive lineman, sat out the first game. The Chiefs lost. They got desperate. They immediately said, listen, whatever you want, Chris, come on back. So he comes back. This guy was a huge factor and, was a star caliber player that carried them into the Super Bowl last year and was great.
Yep.
But, I mean, what kind of spot are you putting a guy on? Where, you're Rodney Harrison, you're a commentator. We criticize commentators for not, especially in the NFL, for soft soaping everything and sugarcoating everything. But I don't know that you need to go to this extreme and say, after the guy finally has a good ball game, well, why don't you admit it? He's garbage. I mean, he pressured Jones to come up with this answer. That was number 2. Number 3, Shoffley almost kicked off Ryder Cup team. That's the third headline they had. Apparently, the players were not happy with a couple of things. The conditions, they had to sign a contract, I guess, to play for the Ryder Cup team. And Shoffley and I guess a couple of others were not happy. What was that? Breakpoint was the name of the series they had on Netflix about the tennis world, where they went behind the scenes. I thought it was great. I mean, and it was generally an extremely favorable depiction of the people that they did the portraits of when they went in and they were talking to various tennis players about they had them with their boyfriends, girlfriends, whatever, and we're really behind the scenes. You're like almost in the bedroom having sex with Taylor Fritz and that Morgan Pressel, or is her name? Is it Pressel? Morgan something. The hot babe that's always getting the shots in the box there. Of I mean they show more of the girl than they do of Taylor Fritz, and he's playing. So, and I guess that's going to happen with Kelsey now and Taylor Swift. But in this case, the woman is a stone babe and one of those influencers. So I guess Shoffley and some of the others might have, been sensitive about the idea that Netflix was going to be granted access to the players' locker room.
Oh.
What goes on in a golf locker room that you would say, oh, my God, what is Andy Bean jerking off against one of the lockers there? I mean, what could possibly be happening that you would give a shit?
Exactly.
They're always dressed in the same clothing. I mean, they may as well have got the khakis off of Jim Harbaugh, and they always have a very, beautiful, set of attire because they're selling clothing, just like tennis players are. I mean, you look and you're thinking, how is it that 7 women on the tour are wearing the same outfit in the tournament? Because they're selling. Yep. Selling clothes, right? I mean, the people look at, you see a guy and he got like this cool golf shirt on. I don't know. I'm not inclined to do this, as you can tell by my wardrobe. But, I mean, you're thinking, I wouldn't mind getting one of those, huh? The one that really bothers me now, Lubie, among the, as they try to always change up apparel, so you'll have to buy more. The Nike emblem being on the back right shoulder of a shirt. Doesn't that seem like the guy's wearing the shirt backwards? Have you seen that? No,
I had never noticed that.
Speaking of golf, the Nike emblem is on the back right shoulder, and you're looking, going, "Holy shit! Look at that! Brooks Koepka doesn't know how to put his shirt on." Anyway, so that was more ugliness. Headline number 4: 76ers expect Harden to make the situation painful.
Yeah, he already.
This is on a day when we have 4 baseball playoff games, Lubie. These are the top 4 headlines so far.
They're like searching. It's so funny.
My God. Angels fire Phil Nevin.
Yeah.
That, at least was news, and that was the second guy to go down after the baseball season. Buck Showalter getting canned by the new Mets guy. And there was some criticism there. What do you think about this, Lubie? Where the new guy Stearns came in. He's the new president, and he's the big kahuna when it comes to the operations. Now they made Epler, who was the general manager, like some other position. They Peter Principled him up. Did I say that right? Peter Principled him.
Sure, I don't know.
Principled him up.
Principle is the phrase. Yes,
that's a lot to say here early in the morning. We're trying to get to Tony Segreto, and I got another headline here. But anyway, and supposedly he didn't even talk to Showalter. Should the new guy and this was a theory that was put forth in the New York Post, one of the columnists, and probably has some merit to it that these young new executives don't have any people skills. These analytic guys, and they come in there and they got math on the brain. But I mean, should he not? Buck Showalter certainly deserves at least a face-to-face meeting with a guy who's going to tell him he's being let go. Does he not?
Yes, for sure.
I mean, he was told to resign or be fired, but this guy Stearns never talked to him.
Oh my God!
He sent him a text or something, and that was it. It's like, your wife leaves you and she sends you a text. Exactly. In some cases, that would be desirable. Yeah. Would it not? Yeah. You wouldn't want that face-to-face. Just like, oh, you're gone? Hello, party time. So yeah, that was that was ugly, the way that he was let go. Phil Nevin with the Angels, look, was it a disaster there somewhat? Yes. Did he deal with injuries? Yes. Nevin, remember who was the guy that was supposed to be like drafted number 1? Was it Strauss? No, it wasn't Strasburg. There was a guy in the baseball draft where Phil Nevin was the first pick taken, and there was somebody else that because he had Scott Boras as an agent, teams. I don't know if he got drafted second. I can't remember what year that was when the. There was such a departure from the best player available when they took Phil Nevin was like the number 1.
I know he was a big deal.
Overall pick in the baseball draft. Not that he was a bad player or anything. He was all right, but I forget who the star player was that everybody thought was going to go number 1. It was like a cinch. Look up the year that Phil Nevin was drafted, and it'll come to me after you give me the information. And then finally, and this is a sad story, but it was also in the news, and it was the 6th headline, Russ Francis. Remember Russ Francis? Great tight end. Patriots, 49ers. Plane crash.
Oh, no.
I had a plane crash. Yeah, he was in some Cessna and with a very accomplished aviator. This wasn't one of those things where he was taking flying lessons or he was about to fly one of those banners over the beach and he was leaving North Perry Airport, but went down in a plane crash yesterday. So he checked out at 70. All right, we'll get into a lot of other stuff, too. Jimmy Butler's new look. What do you think, Lubie?
I love it. I think he's so funny. I love that he just doesn't give a shit. He just doesn't.
You know the best way to defend him now? Oh, God. Magnets.
The metal. All over.
Yeah, his whole head was...
I think it was all fake stuff.
I think Pat Riley is going to sport that look?
No, and I don't think Jimmy Butler will be sporting it next week. It was like the dreadlocks last year. They may win the title. Like he is so just doesn't give a shit anymore. Yeah. And they just got screwed with the Dame stuff, and he was very pissed about it. And not even from the Heat's perspective, just the way Portland handled the whole thing. That I love it. Everyone loved it. Julian, you're the only human that would not love it. It became memes. He literally was making fun of himself. It's not, I love it. It was a great look. It's a joke. He's mocking the whole goddamn system. And I love it. He literally was twirling his hair like he was Taylor fucking Swift. Like, I just love this guy who was as serious a competitor as anyone. Also knows he's like the anti-Kawhi. Like, he doesn't take himself seriously at all. And every year he leans, like all the stuff you heard about him with the T-Wolves and the Sixers. Yeah, he's done a 180 with the Heat. He's like, all right, they embrace me, so I'll be really competitive, and I'll also have a really good time. Like, he's having more fun now than he's ever had. And
he did seem like he was having a good off season. He was everywhere, right? With the thing with Coco Gauff and all of that. So, that was good to see. I always like when athletes support other athletes or musicians support other musicians. It's always good. Sportscasters support other sportscasters, right, Lubie? it's always good to have a little fraternity of the people that do the same thing that you do and enjoy it as much as we do. That was weird. What are the odds that Scoop Skolnick shows up on 5 Reasons Sports Network with that look? Probably
Zero.
prohibitive there too as well. All right, it was interesting all the way around. Well, we'll get into a little of that later on. We have Tony Segreto standing by here, and he's going to join us today, usually on Wednesday for Old School with Tony Segreto, brought to you by Texas Roadhouse Restaurants. You want to just pop Tony right in there, and we'll get right to him. Beautiful.
He's ready to go.
Tony Segreto. There he
doing,
is,
people?
man. You should ring a bell though when we bring on Segreto. Should definitely get into a little Jimmy Lennon Jr. Ladies and gentlemen, undefeated in his professional campaign with a record of 31-0 with 29 knockouts. He's fighting out of the great fight city of Miami, Florida. We welcome to the show Tony the Killer Segreto.
The killer
Segreto, man. How you doing, Tony? You all right?
Great. We're just as soon as I get done here, I head up to the Vermont. So
That's right. I mean, you're driving. What
You
the hell?
driving?
yeah, I'm driving.
Okay.
To Vermont. All right.
Be careful, please. You're unbelievable.
You haven't been drinking this morning, have you, Tony?
No.
All right. And what's the story there? You're going to be up there for, I would imagine, quite some time. What? I like that you go there in the winter when the weather's perfect here.
Well,
He does the backwards.
Yeah.
we were supposed to go up earlier, but circumstances
Yeah,
circumstances happened, and
Yeah.
and we were forced to stay a little longer, and as a result, we're going up now. So I'm driving.
The lovely wife is going with you.
No, she's not.
No,
She's
okay.
she's going to join me in a week. So
who's traveling with you? The dog? I mean, how are you doing this?
Dog passed. So you're going by yourself?
yeah, I'm going by myself.
Oh, Jesus, Tony. Be careful, please. You're unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, keep your eyes on the road, kid.
That's a
No
long
doubt. I mean, how many Texas Roadhouses will you be stopping at? How many stops do you make?
Baby. I'll be stopping at 1 or 2. That's for sure.
All
How
right,
you doing?
yeah, we're doing great. I was just, you'll appreciate this because I woke up this morning. I was happy about that.
Yeah,
And,
that's a good thing to see you wake up.
and I'm thinking, I love these days.
At our
Now,
age,
I guess,
at
what's that?
at our age.
That's a good check.
Oh,
mark.
yeah, every time you
It's-
pop your eyes open,
you
it's like, whoa.
pop your eyes open, you're okay.
Yeah, I had a dream, though. I was dreaming that there was a guy pointing a gun at me after he had, just shot somebody. I don't know where this came from. I guess all the violence that we see on the news somehow stuck in my head. But I woke up before I got shot, which was great. And it's like, you're hoping you wake up before you pee.
Yeah.
I woke up. I woke up before I got shot.
Oh God.
But I always loved the day where you had 4 playoff games in the same day. Baseball playoff games.
This is the best. I am going to be totally entertained. I'll be listening to 1, 2 games at a time, and third and fourth. It's perfect.
Yeah, I mean, it's always great, and I guess we get 2 of these kind of days. Now you have at least 2 of them coming up because it's going to take 2 games to win 2 out of 3, and then in the next round we're going to have 4 playoff games on the same day again. So, or maybe 3 and 1. I don't know how it's going to schedule out, but I always love this. It's my favorite time of the baseball season, and we're in it, Tony.
Yeah, we're in it.
I think to your surprise. So would you not say that you are? I mean, most people didn't expect the Marlins to make the postseason this year. I was hoping maybe they'd be a 500 club. I guess we're slightly above it.
The GM got a great shout out today.
As he should.
She
should, yeah.
Featured on the Today Show, and it was great. It was terrific. And if she is not an advocate for women, I don't know who is, because she stood up for women. And there's a lot of things that you can say about women, but that didn't want.
Well, I could say a lot of things about women.
Yeah, you could.
Just go back through those couple of divorces, and I'm on the ropes in this one. But no, I mean, when the Marlins, named her as the GM, she did have an extensive background with the Dodgers organization. So you thought, all right, that's a quality organization, always has been one. I know they have new leadership there, but they still seem to maintain this semblance of quality. I've said this before because when I started out in L.A., Tony, I did a lot of stuff with the Dodgers, and even though I was working for some schmenky fish wrap newspaper in the outskirts of the Inland Empire, they treated me as if I was one of the top columnists in LA. They always literally were exuding class, as the great Trevor Denman would say, and I'm imagining this would be the same. So you thought that background would help her. But I mean, she made two shrewd acquisitions at the trade deadline that I think carried the club into the postseason when she picked up Berger and Bell.
Yeah, she did, and I think it's a good thing. And if she wins this one, then there's no telling then there's no telling how far she can go. But let's just take one step at a time, and I'm happy we're in it. I'm happy we're in this. So it's game one tonight, right?
Game one's tonight, yeah. All four series get underway tonight. And we've got Luzardo, who's a good story, real good guy, a local kid, went to Stoneman Douglas High School.
Yeah.
And, made his way from the A's over here, was acquired, last year. And, he's made a good account of himself. When he's on, he's really on. And when he's not on, I mean, this is the case with many people in all kinds of endeavors, but when he's not on, very, very vulnerable. And so he's not one of these guys that's going to be like Bob Gibson and work his way out of trouble inning after inning, it doesn't seem. And it goes against Zach Wheeler is an interesting story because I forget who all that. I mean, they had Harvey and DeGrom. The Mets had an unbelievable rotation of 4 or 5 guys that any team you would think would want as their ace.
Yeah.
And Wheeler was like the odd man out there, so they traded him to Philadelphia. Or they let him go. I don't know if he went as a free agent or not. I think he might have left as a free agent. They just let him go. And he's been dynamite. He's the ace of the Philadelphia Phillies staff. So they have to go against Wheeler tonight. And I was reading a handicapper's analysis of tonight's game, and he thinks that the Phillies are going to crush the Marlins tonight. Says go ahead and lay the 1.5 runs. Don't even bother about money line. Go on the run line here. And go ahead and cash yourself a big fat ticket. So we'll see. Definitely rooting for him. All right. What'd you make of the Dolphins Bills, Tony Segreto? Did you watch that game?
Yes, I did. And what can you say? The Bills put their best game together this year, and the Dolphins played as bad as they can play.
I thought I saw Louis Oliver get beat for a touchdown. Didn't it remind you of one of those bludgeonings there when the Bills had Jim Kelly and went against Marino?
You know what? I'm happy to see that the league has given the schedule so that Miami played now up there, and Buffalo's going to play down here, and no more games up there in December.
Oh, I dig those games. What are you talking about, Tony?
It is awful. It's awful. So I'm glad to see the league did that. And
do you think that was by design or just arbitrary luck here? Yeah,
by design. Yeah.
Because they seldom, accommodate like the requests of, especially Miami Dolphins brass, where
that was long ago.
Remember when Stephen Ross he wanted to have all the 1:00 games. He was unhappy that they were getting 4:00 starts. He just wanted everybody to be in that blast furnace that Hard Rock Stadium is in September and October. At 1:00, which it is. I mean, almost impossible to conceive of wearing all of that football gear and going out there and playing NFL brand of football. Just crazy. But all right, so you think that was done on purpose? Because the last game of the year is Bills Miami, and that gave the Bills a lot of advantages, even though they lost that first game to the Jets and looked pathetic in the process. They have bounced back, and
they have bounced back big time, and they're going to be the team to reckon with in the East, I think. And these, I'm tired of seeing ESPN is just feasting on Zach Wilson and Daniel Jones, feasting on them.
Yeah. Well, Jones was horrible last night.
Yeah, horrible. But
Wilson, gave a good account of himself. I thought last week he showed signs of life for sure.
Give the guy a break. He had a bad game. Let's see if there's another one. So I don't know. I just
it comes with the turf, though. I mean, one guy is highly drafted, highly touted. They trade up to get him at number 2, and he bombs. Then they go out and get Aaron Rodgers, and now this guy's thrust back into the spotlight and has a horrible couple of games. And Daniel Jones, there was a big debate. I mean, that was, I would imagine, somewhat of a, it had to be a difficult decision for the Giants to finally, pull the trigger and say, hey, let's give him the money. And they do. And he couldn't look any worse than he does this year.
No. Oh, just awful. Just awful.
Looks like the type of guy that would have been great, though. I mean, he
Yeah,
has
he
that
does.
sort of quarterback for Notre Dame type of look. I know he went to Duke, but
he does.
Yeah.
He does. And by the way, I went to the Notre Dame Duke game, but
yeah. Tell us about that.
Aside from the game, I we were at game day, and that is quite a production.
Isn't that great?
Oh my God. It is to see all the things they have up. And all the cameras, and oh my God, it's never ending. It's quite a production.
I think, you know what, for all the things that people say about ESPN that are negative, and there's certainly many reasons to look at what they're doing and say, what the hell are you trying to do here? They've been very successful. Nobody could question that. Must be just printing money, although supposedly they were losing their ass and they had to let a lot of people go. But the creation of that show and its development is right up there. I mean, this show didn't last as long, but one of the great shows ever created by one of these networks to try and have, some kind of a different slant on things was MTV's Unplugged.
Yeah.
And you used to see these guys, that you knew just cranking out, high decibel volume, rock songs, and they would play acoustic instruments, and you'd say, wow, these guys really can play.
Yeah.
And it was delightful to see, and kind of enlightening. And the game day show has that same kind of spirit and feel.
This is quite a production.
Yeah.
They have it all like they had this on campus, obviously.
Yeah.
And they had it.
Well, plus the games at night, they're out there at like 3 a.m. It's great.
It's amazing. These kids have stamina.
We did too back then.
That's all.
Tony, remember? Say. I mean, it was a whole different feel.
My God, they have stamina. But it was really, really good. It was a really good showing by Notre Dame. They came back. Duke, what can you say? They will win the ACC. They'll win the ACC, and they'll be down here. So
they're going to win the ACC. Okay.
Oh yeah. So there was some purpose to your trip besides just eating at Texas Roadhouse.
Yeah. Well, Lubie, you got Florida State. That's in another.
Oh, you mean they're going to be in the ACC championship game? You think?
Yeah.
All right. Let's do this. You're going to be on the road. Have you made arrangements with Ed Garcia? I mean, for the various pit stops. You say it's what? You go 2 days to Vermont?
3 days this time.
3. Okay. 3. So that puts you what?
I'll stop in Savannah,
Georgia. Okay.
In Richmond, and I'll stop in Poughkeepsie, New York.
Poughkeepsie, one of my favorite places, right?
Yeah.
Just because no one can spell it. Let's bring on Ed Garcia, see if he can help you out. Ed, how are you? Ed Garcia from Texas Roadhouse Restaurants joining us on the phone today. We always love having him on because he has the best produced video of anybody that joins us, period, on this show. It's incredible what this man is doing. Scorsese has nothing on this guy. How are you, Ed?
I'm doing great. How are you guys this morning?
Good morning.
We're just fine and dandy.
I take it you're on the road. Can you help Tony out in any of those locations? Savannah, Richmond, did you say? And then Poughkeepsie?
Yep, I can do all 3. That's not a problem. You send me a date, Tony, and we'll get a table ready for you so that way you can enjoy the tour of Texas Roadhouse and give us some great feedback when you're back on next week. I mean, how cool would that be?
Yeah, it'd be great. Listen, is the one in Savannah near 95?
Yes.
Oh, nice.
There you go, Tony.
Yes.
Great.
You'll see that knife and fork on the sign, and it'll say Texas Roadhouse to the right. Probably has Ed's picture on the sign. Ed, are you pictured on any of these roadway signs, where they, are telling you what services they have at various exits?
There are a few on 95 that I'm aware of that I see from time to time. But, it's actually surprisingly enough to get on some of those signs. It's a 7+ year waiting list. But we've been on them for quite a few because once you're on there, people don't want to let that go. It's just a great visualization. But we are definitely trying.
It really is. When you travel and you see Cracker Barrel or Texas Roadhouse or one of the others, It really does stick with you, and it when they say they're right off 95 or they're with a mile away, it helps. It really helps.
Yeah, it's almost like finally getting to south of the border after seeing the
Yeah.
the 400 signs.
Pedro says 207 miles. Pedro says 206 miles.
What's going on, Ed? I mean, you have to feel good. I'm trying to find the Michigan opponent this week, but you did sweep your way through the first 4 games, which Tony deemed as being less than quality opposition, including Rutgers. Jimmy is back and has been. Minnesota this week. Are you laying 20 and a hook on the road?
I'm feeling on the road. I'm feeling really good. Last week versus the Rutgers was, our first road test. However, I felt they came out on top. It was really awesome to see J.J. McCarthy really in rhythm and a good balance with the running game. And I don't know. Overall, I felt like this past week was flawlessly executed, very well coached, very well executed all the way through and through. So my favorite game definitely so far. Excited to be on the road again this week, another test. And actually, I'm going on the road pretty soon. I will be at the Michigan State game. I know Michigan State has not been playing very, very well. However, it is a big mental piece. And then followed by that, we got Penn State, which I'm very excited about that game. And that one is on the road. I'll tell you, that is going to be the first true battle, I think, for Michigan, besides the mental game of playing the little brother of what we call Michigan State. So very excited, though. College football has been great. Pro football has been great. It's just been exciting to have football back, period. It hasn't been the greatest for Texas Roadhouse because everyone's excited and watching it, but our to-goes have definitely picked up. A lot of people are picking up those family packs and bringing it back, whether it's a big pan of boneless wings or a huge salad, or even, I'll tell you, it's been kind of surprising. We've been selling a lot of, the family packs of steaks where people order just a large amount of steaks and take that back. And I don't know if they pawn it off as their own and say, hey, look what I grilled today, but hey, whatever works.
Wow. So that's part of your game plan here is to you still have the market that's open.
That's correct. So, and you know what? You can even order them online. We have the butcher's market where you can order online. I know you received a few of those.
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic hand-cut steaks. But, I'll tell you, you can check it out on our website as well as our mobile app. But as far as to go, we have a lot of different options, whether it's an individual meal or a family meal. And you can always call your local Texas Roadhouse. And Tony, you'll be happy to hear we're working with the University of Miami. We're going to be feeding those hungry football boys here coming up.
Oh, beautiful.
That's great. That's great. That's
very
nice.
Nice.
What I like to hear. That's
how can you guys afford to throw in the 2 sides without raising the prices on the menu? I don't know how you do that because I was just in a restaurant. I had 2 sides. They were each $10 a pop. The steak was $56. It was absolutely not as good as, and it was a decent one, but not as good as the ribeye that we had at Texas Roadhouse. How long can you keep doing this, Ed Garcia? And why aren't you being consulted by the financial people that are running the country about the national debt? If you have this kind of business acumen, it's great. I mean, it really is nice to see an all-inclusive price, and it includes like 2 incredible sides.
Yep, all homemade.
I'll tell you, one of our big values is the word value in itself. And, and it's just not low prices, but we have the peanuts, we have the fresh baked bread, which is free with the, homemade honey cinnamon butter.
Yeah.
And making things from scratch makes a big difference, Defo. I mean, think about it. If you go to a big warehouse and they make all the potatoes and throw it in a bag and they freeze it and they ship it, someone is paying for all that stuff to get to the door. Where we just have it dropped off, a box of potatoes every single morning. Well, it's a lot more than just a box, and then we have someone making them fresh throughout the day. And that's what keeps the restaurant full, that fresh quality, and that we're doing it in-house. We inspect it in-house to make sure that you're getting the best quality out there. That's what really just helps keep the prices low. And, we like having a full restaurant, just like you want to see a full stadium on the weekend.
Sure.
You just got to be value-driven, and it gives that energy and that excitement, that fun, so that way everyone can come in and have a great time.
That's just a great Great way to put it, Ed, because we can't say enough about Texas Roadhouse, and to hear you say that makes a world of difference. And we urge people to try it. If you haven't tried it, just try it, see if you like it, and you won't go wrong.
Good stuff too, and you can get weird combinations, man. Like Luby's getting a side of chili and a sweet potato.
Mac and cheese,
Like,
mac
what?
and cheese, sweet potato.
It's
not like you're going routine steamed vegetables there when it comes to the choices.
Yeah, he's not. He is not.
And we love you. I hope you cover the point spread here. I'm tempted to lay the 20 in a hook just because of our relationship.
Good to talk to you.
Go Blue.
We'll talk to you.
Have a great one, guys.
All right, and Tony will be calling because he's taken up, it wasn't like this when he was in TV, but since he's, doing this kind of a show, he's more inclined to be a schnorrer like Lubie and I are, and let the owner know
true.
that,
That's
I'll be
true.
in the neighborhood.
Yeah, I'll be in the neighborhood.
Yeah. Ed Garcia, ladies and gentlemen.
That's true. I'm doing this show and not doing TV anymore.
Well, it is TV, I guess. It's the new wave of television, actually.
Yeah,
which is kind of interesting. Yeah, for sure. Most of these places, it's funny, Tony, because they all cut their sports departments out.
Yep.
And now have come back with just gorgeous young babes that are doing the sports all across
Yeah,
the local television channels.
with what Florida's doing.
Yeah.
South Florida has been the epicenter of sports. I know we haven't won titles, but every team has been in a playoffs or competing for playoffs.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh shit.
That's right. That's right, Lubie.
Okay, here, Megan. Go, Megan, go.
Yeah. They take the traffic girl and they put her in sports.
Who knows sports? Who knows sports?
Actually, they do a nice job. The local female sportscasters really do a nice job.
It's just funny how NBC literally shut down sports, and then a month later it's like, oh fuck.
Right. They had their two.
What are they gonna do? I know.
Had the lifestyle chicks doing it. Now, is your suitcase? This I always love. Is your suitcase under the desk and you're ready to just go? I mean, as soon as this last word hits the airwaves, are you out the door?
Is in the car.
Oh, you're ready. I mean, so when are you taking off? Like right now? Or are you waiting for the rush hour traffic to dissipate a little bit?
Dissipate.
Oh, yeah, kind of at the right time. Yeah, get going. All
It's
right, Tony.
too. I mean,
Well, have a good trip. Let us know your whereabouts, please. We want to be
please,
tracking
please.
you.
Thank you.
If I had a chance, I'd put some kind of low jack in your car so we know exactly where you are. We don't want you deviating, zigzagging, ending that up in Las Vegas like I might on your way to Vermont. All right, have fun, Tony. Thanks as always for joining us.
See you next week.
We'll talk to you again next week on a Wednesday. All right?
Bye-bye.
Sounds good. All right, Tony Segreto, ladies and gentlemen, old school.
I myself, that's a drive. Jesus, I drive a lot.
What are you talking about? That's the last thing I want to do. Drive to Vermont.
Holy shit.
I don't know. I mean, what do? You fly into New London Groton Airport there in Connecticut? Is that what you do? I mean, where would you go?
For a month.
They must have an airport in Burlington, no?
He's flown in and out. When he's there, he goes to places. He doesn't drive everywhere. But
oh, yeah, okay.
He's going to be up there for months.
Well,
so
he probably needs the car while he's up there, although he probably would be better off with a dog sled that he just kept in the garage. Who leaves Florida in the wintertime that lives here year-round?
He does it every time.
I mean, not year-round, but I mean, that's going with a 6-month rotation. Nobody does it that way.
Yeah, their summers must be nice. Their winters are fucking hell.
The summers here, you can't wait to get the fuck out of here from most people, right?
You understand. And
I go to Atlantic City and it's like 85 and high humidity, and you feel like you're in paradise. You're in a scumbag town like Atlantic City, New Jersey. Come on. Because it's summer here, and hot town, summer in the city. Everybody's schwitzing. I think of the massive sweats that you develop, right? If you go outside and do any kind of outside activity, like you're mowing the lawn now, Louie. Is that right?
I do my pool. I don't do the lawn.
You don't do the lawn? Why don't you mow the lawn? I would go just the opposite. I would mow the lawn,
the pool's
the
easy.
exercise, and then the pool I would trust to somebody that
the problem is
knew chemical balance.
The pool and the lawn are the same price, and I don't have any of the things for the lawn and the pool. I got it down to a science where it doesn't cost me that. It costs me a quarter of what it would cost me to have someone do it, and it doesn't take me that time. So I do the pool. I think we'll do the lawn because I see a lot of these older guys around the neighborhood doing the lawn. I think that's why it's like their thing to do. It's exercise.
Edging was always a problem for me. I never was really good at edging.
I probably would just
the lawn. I could mow it down pretty well, but and weeds, forget about it. I really could have cared less about weeds. Didn't really know what to do with them. I was a lousy groundskeeper. I was kind of like the groundskeeper at City Life Stadium or City Field there. not City Life, City Field in New York, where and somebody said Mike Vaccaro, our good friend Mike Vaccaro, we ought to get him on the show sometime soon and get a little perspective about the Big Apple, because so many things are happening that are of a strange variety there, and and ask him. I mean, how is it possible? I mean, that was payback. Wasn't that payback for the '82 game at the Orange Bowl between that Richard Todd game where AJ Dewey had the 3 picks, and the theory was that Shula deliberately made sure the field was muck to slow down the Jets, and it worked to perfection, right? What'd they win that game? 14-zip, something like that. And to this day, to his grave, Shula never admitted that that was on his orders, that they had no tarp on the field. Did the Arsenal even own a tarp? I don't even know. I mean, it was such a shithole of a stadium there. Is that the second time I've used the word shithole in the last 15 minutes?
Probably.
It's not good, man. Not good, Libby.
I dropped that.
We're coming back with more in a moment here. Thanks to Tony for joining us. Usually with us. Usually he's with us on Wednesday. I was going to ask him though. You know, he probably has great memories about going to some of those Buffalo Miami games in Buffalo, because he would have been on the road with the team. I never attended a Miami Buffalo road game.
He was literally like the sports director when it was the heyday, I presume.
Yeah.
Before he did anything.
You had to be outside. Was it Rich Stadium back then?
Rich, yeah. I think it still is.
They changed the name. It's something
they actually
else.
got a sponsor. Oh wow, really? Even the Bills have a sponsor? That's
well. Was Rich Stadium Louis Rich, the cold cuts company?
Oh, I thought Rich Stadium was like a
or was that named after some guy?
Yeah, I don't think he was a sponsor. I think it was like the old school, how it used to be.
It wasn't like Louis Rich Stadium, and they just called it Rich Stadium instead. No, it was officially Rich Stadium. Anybody who knows the origins of that, the roots of Rich Stadium. But I mean, it was a bloodbath for the Dolphins every time they went there. It was kind of like going to a Raiders game in Oakland, which I did attend. And as I mentioned many times, it was really shocking to see that effigy hanging of Shula. And then there it was. Shula was actually dangling from a gallows. Hoping that like Mike Westhoff would come over and cut the rope. It was ugliness. But Buffalo, legendary stories about some of the right up there with what? Virginia Tech and the Hurricanes in that series where did they do that to every school? Virginia Tech, the Hokies? If they just, you go to, what is it, Blacksburg, Virginia or something? Mm-hmm. Is it Blacksburg? Really?
Yes.
Just the name itself sounds like someplace that you could just go to if you want to get shot.
Yeah, it sounded scary, 100%.
We're going to Blacksburg.
Definitely.
Right? I mean, the welcoming sign says, squat down like a pig. All right, we're coming back with more. We'll get into a bunch of stuff here. You know what, Lubie, you have been very... very good about, kind of containing yourself and not talking NBA the entire offseason this year.
It's whatever. The Dame thing got old. I actually at one point was like...
I want to talk to you about that, though. I mean, and I can't remember the other player. When you look at the trade of Holiday to the Celtics, and they get Brogdon and Williams, the Portland Trailblazers. They also have... I mean, when you look at what they did in the long run, they also, they got Ayton, and who was the other guy that they already had acquired that they kept and didn't deal. So they got like 4 decent players. I don't know. You don't like Ayton. A lot of people
none
don't.
Of the deals are. What's funny is
Brogdon was a 6th man of the year last year, was he not?
And then he didn't play the entire playoffs. That's when you look at when some guy actually fought with me. Like he might have been a Heat fan, but he was trying.
But I wanted to say that the Heat couldn't have offered this much, no matter what.
Offered more.
It was like 5 draft picks and 4 NBA quality players.
They got 3 firsts, which the Heat offered, and then it was pick swaps with the Suns, the Bucks, and the Celtics. Why in the fuck would you want to swap with the Suns,
with
the
top
Bucks,
teams? Yeah.
Celtics?
Well, the opportunity to swap.
But that's the thing is, so it was nothing because you're clearly not going to want to swap. The trade at face to people who don't follow the NBA really closely. Who
was the other guy though besides Ayton, Brogdon, and Williams now that they acquired?
It was Holiday who they just traded.
No, Holiday they traded, but they had another quality player besides Ayton, didn't they?
Nasir Little, who I liked out of college, who has done nothing in the pros. Some other dude you named that I never heard of the name. It was a bunch of randoms. It was a bunch of like guys that have done nothing in the league and probably won't even make the roster. Like that's the trade. We can talk after more. Like I'm not upset. It was clear when even the professor was fighting me on it. Like, well, I don't know because he hates Riley. Finally, yesterday after seeing the Holiday trade, was like, oh fuck, you were right. Like they're a young rebuilding team who traded for 2 older dudes who are always hurt with big contracts.
Yeah.
He could have given them younger guys with big contracts. Like Duncan Robinson will actually be more useful in this NBA than an ailing Robert Williams or an ailing Malcolm Brogdon. Like that's the thing. Like,
but I mean, what's the story on Brogdon? He was hurt at the end of last year, but is there something wrong with him permanently? Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. He might be back, but the last 3-4 years, he's gotten hurt for large chunks right around the playoffs every year. And that's Robert Williams.
I love your passion here, where you legitimately feel like the Heat got screwed, and you were so disappointed that Lillard didn't come to the Miami Heat. That no matter what, I mean, they could have gotten Bill Russell in his prime, and you would have said that somehow.
No, if they
just wanted to fuck Miami. It seemed to me like this Joe Cronin, who was being widely dissed and criticized and defamed for the idea that he just wouldn't accommodate Lillard's wish to go to Miami. When I looked at all of the moves that he made, I thought, well, maybe Miami didn't have that much on the table.
Miami couldn't.
Although I wouldn't have minded having Tyler Hero. I don't know why people are so anxious. You gave up on him because he dove for a basketball.
No, I was frustrated by him. I still think he would have been the best player of any of them offered. And the funny thing is they still could have gotten Ayton. Like Ayton, the Suns were willing to work with the Heat, and the Suns liked Hero. Yeah. I don't know why the Suns need Hero. They have enough scoring, but they liked Hero, and they would have offered up
Hero with Devin Booker. Wow.
So that's the thing is like the only negative would be, well, they got Ayton. Well, they could have anyways. The Suns wanted Ayton, and he could have offered up Martin, Jovic, Robinson, Lowry, like all these guys that are just as good as the guys they got to me. Like that's my problem is for a team that's rebuilding and young, they got a bunch of older dudes that are hurt all the time. Like, why would you want that with big contracts when you're a young rebuilding team? Like, yeah, for the Heat, Robert Williams and Malcolm Brogdon would actually be good. Drew Holiday would be good for the Heat. These are all guys obviously he could get. When you're a young rebuilding team who supposedly doesn't want to take on big contracts, Brogdon and Robert Williams don't work for you at all. Drew Holiday didn't work for you at all.
They got rid of Holiday.
I know. So that's my thing is Cronin got a trade for like a team that's contending. Like when you're getting rid of a top 10, look at these other trades that Mitchell brought and Gobert brought and Durant brought. Like it's usually young guys that have potential and draft picks. That's not what he got at all. He got a bunch of older guys and questionable guys with big contracts, which is like
and some first round picks though.
He got the same amount of first round picks he would have gotten from the Heat. That probably would be better.
Maybe he just hates the Heat. You're right, Lubie.
No, yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it seemed like the guy made some moves, and when I was looking at it on balance, I thought, it's possible that this guy had a more complicated picture in mind than just saying, "Hey, what do you have, Heat?" It wasn't like the Jets and Aaron Rodgers, in other words, and especially in the NBA, where you can incorporate in a team out of the WNBA and somehow end up with Diana Taurasi on your roster. You're like, what? How crazy is that? All right, we can talk some more about that. It was interesting. I'm not a big fan of media days in general. I hated attending those kind of things.
Stupid.
I really did. I mean, it was just so weak, in my opinion. I understand the reason for it. It's great, for the radio station that carries the team, gets everybody. You probably had to run down there and get like LeBron and Chris Bosh, Dwayne Wade to say, "Hi, this is Dwayne Wade. Listening to Miami Heat basketball on 940 Wins, Miami Sports."
So funny is the first 3 years I was with the station, I was that young guy going and doing sports.
Yeah.
And I was excited when I started working with you.
Oh, it would seem good.
Useful. You hated it, so I stopped doing it. You're always like, it's so stupid and schmaltzy when they say they love the station and they say it for 5 different stations. I'm like, you're not wrong. So then I stopped.
It was like the Don King interviews where, he literally, Don King would go around and they did these radio rows for boxing where there were like maybe, 30 stations, 40 maybe, and not that many. I mean, maybe 20, 30 stations that came out for this. And a lot of other news outlets were involved, but, a lot of writers. But King would do a one-on-one with every radio station, naturally, to promote the fight. That's why he has you out there. And he would tell the producer, whoever was there, to just write the letters, the call letters of the station on a piece of paper, and he would have like a yellow pad there and say, just write down what station are you and what's the name of the guy. And then all of a sudden he would go off, as soon as the light came on and say, Jeff Defo DeForest, WIOD, my favorite radio station. And if you took the sign away, he wouldn't have had any clue, what was going on, obviously. But no, I could see the purpose of that. If you're doing a broadcast of a team, you want to insert a couple of those in there. It's a little, branding type of thing, and it makes some sense to go to these media days. For the TV stations, they need a couple of static shots of various players or whatever, rolling a ball, and when they're talking about them and they don't have any other clips to play, boom, maybe they can go to this out of the bank there. But other than that, I mean, it's kind of weird. And yet I was struck by, can you believe LeBron James is going into his 21st year? Well, we'll get into this, NBA stuff because, see, Lubie, you're finally fired up on the show. We could talk football all day long. We could have, teams in championship rounds, baseball playoffs starting up. Nobody loves off-season NBA conversation more than you.
Well, I could talk about, I'm not really that fired up about it. I'm sort of laissez-faire about the whole thing. To me, from every angle, it seems like if the Heat really if the Heat didn't want to go all in, these trades have been better. But if the Heat were willing to give you Jovic, who anyone who's watched Jovic this offseason should be fucking excited. The dude was Serbia thing, World Cup, playing against some of the best players in the league, and he was their best player. And he's put on 20 fucking pounds, and he can do almost anything on the court.
And they liked him last year, even though he didn't play much.
He's a perfect fit with Bam. So people around the league like Jovic. I don't give a shit. The Blazers have shown that they have no idea what they're doing. Like, Jovic is actually an asset around the league. Okay, they offered up Jovic. The hero around the league, not on NBA chat rooms.
Hero has a chance, depending on his mental, makeup, and that has come sometimes into question. But you can't forget the guy's like 22 years old or something.
Yes, he's literally.
So if he's in the league a lot longer, does he not maybe learn how to kind of compose his skills into an even more dynamic set? Maybe takes a few things out of the game, puts a few more things in. But just matures as an NBA player, it's possible that he could turn out to be just a steady, top caliber NBA player for a long period of time.
He averaged 25 and 4 the last 2 years. Like, that is borderline all-star numbers. And he was a third guy. It's not that he did that on a shitty team, the Grizzlies, when they were sucky, and you're Abdur Rahim, so someone has to score 20. He was the third guy, clear third option, and he went 25 and was coming off the bench a lot of the time.
Yeah, and you need a guy who can spark an offense. Sometimes Duncan Robinson was that guy more so a couple of years ago, but come into the ball game and then boom, he hits 3 shots in a row, a jumper for 3, goes to the basket on 1, maybe ignites a fast break. I mean, and Hero does all that stuff when he's on. Yeah, I mean, seemed like he had a lousy year last year, even though his numbers, the numerology was very similar to his 6th man of the year. So, very, very interesting. All right, well, we'll get into it, Lubie. We've been trying to exit to this break here for the last half hour. And then you got me going, and I started thinking about, I wanted to, go ahead and effuse praise on LeBron James because he gets knocked so much. But as a player, I mean, hype to performance. Think about it. I mean, and I remember. All right, we'll get into this in a second. We'll come back and talk some more about this and other things. The baseball playoffs getting underway today. What will you do? Will you be parked in front of a television set? Are you that interested in some of these other series? These are very preliminary. The favorites are also, speaking of, prohibitive, I mean, the favorites are all, pretty much overwhelming in the series in the eyes of many. And although... the game is in Tampa, isn't it? The Texas Tampa Bay game? Yeah. Okay, that'd have to be in Tampa. Yeah, they were like 92 and 70 this year or something like that.
Yeah.
No, they won like the Orioles won 101. Did they win 99 games? The Tampa Bay Rays? I think they did.
They won 99 games. They won. Yeah. Is it 3rd or 4th most?
But they got off to that blazing start, and then you know what? Even though you had to come back to the pack a little bit, it's just like Louis Ariz wasn't going to hit 400. But, hitting 350 is no small accomplishment.
They were 4th. They had the 4th most wins in majors.
All right. Well, you're getting a good price on them to win the World Series. Would you take a shot with that? Mike Lubitz, Tampa Bay Rays are 12-1 to win the World Series.
Oh, yeah. Because if you look at all these other teams, they have as much playoff experience as any.
Braves pitching rotation and a little bit of, suspect nature right now. Dodgers obviously going to be tough. Astros fought their way into their spot. Orioles, overlooked completely, 6-1. Phillies, they were right there knocking on the door last year. They don't. I think I don't know. The Marlins in there with any chance, Lubie? Any chance to win this series?
I look at their rotation, and I know you were defending how they played this year, and I appreciate what their pitchers did this year. But when you look at their pitchers,
they're in trouble. No doubt. No, they're going to be fighting off the ropes. I mean, this is going to be Arguello after Aaron Pryor came out, ran across the ring and socked him in the face in round one, saying, could be a long night. All right. I'm going to come back with more with Mike Lubie Lubitz in just a moment here on the Defo Show. Our thanks again to Tony Segreto for joining us. Yes, and we'll return in a moment. Now that.
The time.
Andy's saying he could have thrown Havlicek into the deal. It's 9:08.
Folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched. Steaks hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
Sinned against you, my Lord.
The only way to get your morning started is with Defo, joined by Lubie, right here on the Defo Show.
I don't know that we've ever seen this man express any sort of a sense of humor, right? Talking about Vladimir Putin.
Yeah.
But he has to be laughing his ass off watching his good buddy Donnie Trump there squirming in courtrooms, coming out screaming and thinking, this is a guy that they're about to appoint in supposedly the greatest country in the world to be their leader. Can you imagine? I mean, as if, isn't it about time, Lubie? I mean, why don't we start this campaign, huh? If it hasn't been started already. What is the point of having this electoral college being a factor? Is it just something that the Republicans are hoping to sustain forever because it's the only way they can get elected?
Yeah, it saves their ass. I don't know when the last time they won a popular election was. Probably, but was it Reagan? I don't know.
Could be, yeah.
I don't know if they've won one since Reagan. I don't think George W. won the popular vote overwhelmingly.
It's starting to look more and more likely like there's a distinct possibility the country will be run by a guy who's incarcerated. like somehow El Chapo is still running his cartel there in Mexico, even though he's like in a cement block room that's probably like 4x6. That cinder block room that has two guys standing outside, no way to get his hands on any kind of communication, and somehow he's still doing it. That's what we're looking at here. All right, so we were talking about. I wanted to get into this because I remember were you listening to the radio when Howard David, the play-by-play announcer,
like Howard David,
for the Dolphins was doing morning drive radio here in town. In fact, we ran into him at that New York Super Bowl. Remember, he came by and said hello.
I knew him as a great play-by-play, like a famed play-by-play guy.
Yeah.
I didn't know he did actual local sports. I did not know that. And yes, we saw him.
Well, he came to QAM as the Dolphins announcer, and he ended up doing morning drive radio for a while. And he literally, I mean, there was not one show when James was maybe even. When would you say the hype really started? When he was a junior in high school, or
Yes.
Yeah, because I mean, from that point on, there was not a day that went by that Howard didn't mention. And he was a big basketball guy because I think he did Milwaukee Bucks play-by-play for years. Howard David was great at it. Real good play-by-play guy. Tremendous voice.
Great.
You talk about a set of pipes. But and unfortunately for him, I think Neil Rogers just got into his head because he rode him. I mean, like he was the 2-horse and a cheap claimer at Beulah Park. I mean, just beat the shit out of him every day. And some people, the worst thing you could do is have the kind of reaction where it was just going to stimulate more of this venom, right? I mean, I think, I don't know that it was serious. I don't think so. But anyway, it kind of impacted, his shows, I thought, a little bit. It just, and people that were in the business at the time, it was something you had to really work to avoid. And that is letting that be an influence on how you were performing on a daily basis.
Well,
you just had to do your thing. What's that?
Like, that's what's funny is Goldie. He went hard after Goldie, but he also was actually a fan of Goldie's. Like like if you're in the business, I thought you understand some of it. Like a lot of it's the term shtick exists. Like Neil's whole thing was anything that existed was fair game for his shtick. Like why would you even? I don't understand. Yeah, if you're a professional, I get because he was a play-by-play guy. No one bothers them. They know the Twitter didn't exist, so you're not used to getting hammered all the time.
No.
So that's the thing I get. Because a guy like you, I know Neil went after you, but it never stopped you from doing your fucking thing. Like
no. I mean, he was okay with me. I mean, it was all fine.
Everyone like that was his thing. Was even if he liked you, he would make fun of you. Like that was
no doubt. Yeah, maybe even more so. I don't know. I'm not sure how many people he actually deep down inside really liked. But, he's kind of a bitter guy. I mean, for a guy that was having tremendous talent, though. I mean, nobody would argue that. I remember listening to him when he was doing politics on what was 790, I guess, at the time. And that was an all-news station out of a bandbox. I mean, you talk about an eye-opener, Lubie. I had been working in some places in Los Angeles, as kind of an off-air underling, doing stuff. And, you walk in and you're saying, wow, this is the big leagues here. And then I came here and 790 was in some shack. 560 also. I was in a shack in the middle of like Plantation somewhere or Davie. Dirt road, I mean, to get to the station. Think about that. I mean, I hadn't seen anything like that since I was doing high school football on KREL in Corona, California.
God.
And so and there's Neil Rogers, and this was before he really made it big there, and people became very much aware of him when he went to WIOD. But he was there at night, like doing 7 to midnight or something for Steve Lappa of all people, and I thought, wow, this guy's fucking great.
Oh wow!
But, okay. He was mostly doing a political commentary then. He hadn't really gotten into all of the other stuff with the carts and the sounds and the farts and everything else. But brilliant talk show host. But I think he got under Howard David's skin. I really do, because of the hairpiece stuff that he was talking about. To the point where, and I witnessed this one time, where Neil was on the air, and there was a guy named Steve Ziegler. He was an engineer, and Ziggy was wearing a bad hairpiece. Everybody knew it. And, Neil was on him every day about it on the show. And then I happened to be there in the control room one day, just asking a question or something. And as Ziegler pops in, opens the door to the studio, and fires the hairpiece at Neil Rogers. Takes it literally right off his head, fires it at Neil Rogers, hits him kind of, brushes his face, and says, "There, are you happy now?"
Yes, that's his dream. That's exactly the best case scenario for Neil.
Those were it was a heyday of being in the entertainment business, because it was entertaining no matter what aspect you were looking at. That was great, though. That was good. But you couldn't let it get to you. But while that was happening, and you're listening to Howard, all he was doing was extolling the virtues of LeBron James. Oh, nobody came into the league with more hype than LeBron James.
No.
Then he's drafted, and in succession afterwards, of course, you had the unfortunate, decision by Joe Dumars there, where, he takes this schlep with a Marx Brothers name. And, then you had what? You had Carmelo Anthony, Chris Bosh, Dwayne Wade, all Hall of Famers. So who's left? And still averaging like 27 points a game.
Oh, none of them.
Nobody but LeBron. I mean, it doesn't look like has he dropped off some? It's hard to say, isn't it? If he came into the league and he was this good, you would have said, my God, This guy is like the greatest player ever.
That's the funny thing is he's still putting up prime LeBron numbers. He's just older, so you just mark him down a peg. But and his defense, he used to play defense at an all-world level, and now he does it in spots, if that. But offensively, he's every bit as good as he always was. 21 years is nuts. Like 15, 12 years is nuts. He's the guy that because he was so great, people hated him because of that. Look, I did it with Kobe. I did it with Michael Jordan, and it was illogical and incoherent to just hate a guy because he's great. But I've done it. A lot of us have done it. But he had no issues off the court. He gives back. He started universities. He literally superseded any expectation. Like the idea that he could be great. He's the only guy truly in the Michael Jordan conversation. Like just that alone is fucking insane. Like, yes, he had more hype than anyone ever and somehow exceeded it. Which is
and continues to do so. I mean, I know ESPN is obsessed with the Lakers, even if they're not a championship team. They still, I mean, look, what were they, semifinals last year? Before they got knocked out by Denver. That's not bad.
And they pushed every one of those 4 games. They pushed the Nuggets. The Nuggets weren't like demolishing them. Like
no,
I mean they're in it. They're in it. They're a top 5 team going into the season. I mean,
Nuggets, a very very heavy favorite.
They should.
Like less than 3-1, I think, to win it again.
They're young. That's what's so fucking annoying about the Nuggets is they're this good.
So you don't think Lillard and Antetokounmpo? I know you don't think that puts Milwaukee in any great position.
Oh no, it does. They should be the clear favorite in the East, and they are a team that could be interesting versus the Nuggets. Look, the Nuggets' issue is health. Yeah. I said it going in when everyone forgot them last year, and I didn't understand why. It was like the only reason they've been derailed the last 2 to 3 years was health. And last year, for the first time ever, Porter Jr., Murray, Jokic were all healthy. As long as they stayed healthy, they were going to win. And they won pretty easily. Like they sort of they could have beat the Heat probably by a lot more, honestly. It felt like they were sort of going through motions half of that fucking series. So they're the favorite to me. And I don't know. The problem with the Bucks to me is now they become top heavy. They used to have this really well-rounded roster and depth. And Portis is old. Brook Lopez is literally started the NBA, I think, in the late 90s.
I think he broke in when Hector Lopez broke in with the Yankees. Yes.
So the Bucks, I don't trust their depth. The freaking Nuggets are top heavy and deep. And they're young. They're not like this team where the Bucks got really old. Middleton's old now, and like Dame's sort of old. Like the
good chemistry too on that club.
It's just scary.
I mean, you look at teams. The Warriors had this, when both prior to and then even subsequent to at times Durant. But the synchronization of the team, something that shouldn't be overlooked. And the Nuggets, I mean, they play. It's almost. I mean, is it the modern day version of watching the like Bill Bradley Knicks?
I don't know that team, but yes,
where I mean, the ball just moves and always ends up in the right spot somehow, and you have more periods where the shot clock is winding down, and there's suddenly an air of desperation where you have 3 seconds to make something happen. The guy with the ball's in an awkward position, and the Nuggets, especially with Jokic, they have a way of getting out of those jams. Which is also a significant difference in ball games, you would have to say, in the NBA, because you're going to have to fight your way out of a couple of those situations. At least every quarter, where a shot clock winding down, guy with the ball is very much compromised, well defensed, not in a position to really make something happen, and somehow he does.
Yes.
And you end up with a basket or at the free throw line, and you're thinking, wow, I mean, these guys are salvaging possessions, and it makes a big difference in the ultimate outcome, where, everybody else is just thinking, it's all these spectacular plays that you see the highlights of that really were the story of the game. So they're great at grinding it out. And, they do it. I mean, it's not like anybody's lost in the equation.
Nope.
So, that's one of the good things about that particular team. I don't think you had it as much, with the Warriors in recent years. Maybe
size. The issue for the Warriors.
Well, what are they doing with Chris Paul, by the way?
I don't know. I think
kind of a weird acquisition was that.
I don't know where he fits with that because he's ball dominant. I mean, I guess, look, for the Warriors.
Can you have him in the lineup the same time as Steph Curry? I guess you could. I mean, he's a good passer.
Because remember, Curry is really good playing off the ball.
Yeah.
Clay's been good at off the ball. The problem is Draymond usually plays on the ball. So now what do you do with fucking Draymond? Like, he's your only size. What the hell do you do with him? Because Paul has to have the ball. Like, that's what Paul's game. I don't know. They're just acquiring talent and hoping it works out. I mean, they're at the end of their run. Like, Klay Thompson has not been the same since his injuries. No. Curry somehow as good, if not better, but the rest of that team is just like the young group of guys that was supposed to take them to the next level all fell apart last year. And I think that sort of, to me, ended their window. Like, they were supposed to just have this seamless transition to Wiseman, who they traded away, to the Moody guy.
And I was surprised. I thought Poole was a really good player.
Who after the
they hated him, huh? I mean, after Green punched him in the face. Yeah. Was there something else there that we don't know about, that Poole had alienated the entire team to where nobody even came to his defense?
Yeah, exactly.
It was weird. And the next thing you know, the guy's like, relegated to the bench and he's dumped. That was strange.
Now he's on like the Wizards. So like, I don't know. They just are like in the last gasp. Let's just get talent, put it together, and see if they can shock the world. To me, it comes down to the Nuggets' health. If the Nuggets are healthy, there's no one that will beat them. But the good thing for the rest of the league is the Nuggets usually aren't healthy. Last year was literally the first year that group was healthy. So you would assume they won't be. So we'll see. I don't know. I think the NBA season.
When's the first game in the regular season? You know, I mean, I know hockey cranks up. Tuesday of next week? A week.
It's already here. I think early November is.
Okay.
Halloween. Halloween. Don't they do like a Halloween thing? I think it's like Halloween.
They're a little ways away from getting started. All right, a lot of off-season activity there, including what didn't happen, which is Damian Lillard coming here to the Heat, which everybody was wildly anticipating, and so you're coming back with a Heat team that you would have to say. I mean, unless this kid that you were talking about, the Serbian wonder there,
Jovic, yeah.
If he develops, which wouldn't be uncommon for the Miami Heat to have a guy, develop and actually get better from within, which they did with Vincent, who's gone, and Strus, who's gone. So you would think those were two guys that made contributions, big ones last year, I thought. They are no longer on the roster. So if somebody emerges like this kid, great. But otherwise, you would have to think they're not as good as they were a year ago. And that was not necessarily the step that you saw Pat Riley, an aging Pat Riley, taking, as he said, I want one more ring. One more ring.
Yeah, he tried. I don't know. That whole thing went sour fast. We'll see with the Heat. I think the signing of Richardson and the Bryant kid actually are a lot more interesting than is getting.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot about Richardson.
I think keeping Love, he actually weirdly fit well with that team. I think Jovic showed a lot this offseason. And Caleb Martin now without a Strus, it seemed to, when Strus would sit, it left room for Martin to grow. And it's funny, of Strus, Vincent, Martin, what we saw in the playoffs, I think Martin has the best ability to be closer to that. Like, everyone loved Vincent and the moments from Strus. I don't know if that's who they are. Like, I think they're nice players, but
they're okay.
I think they hit weird grooves in the playoffs, and I don't trust that that's going to be them. What Martin showed in the Eastern Conference Finals, no, I'm not saying he's going to be their best player, but I think at times he can be their third or fourth best player. And if he can do that, that's huge for this team. So again, the Heat are looking toward building within. I also think they're going to try and get a guard of some kind. They need a guard badly. So we'll see. Right. We'll see. I don't know. With the Heat, I've learned.
Brian Dragic could come back.
Well, actually, yeah, but that won't be as.
I think he's long gone. He's fishing somewhere off some Russian coast. Trying to catch, get in a few smelts for bait. All right. We're coming back with more. We'll be with you until about 9:40 or so here this morning. And we'll have our NoFilter.net morning briefing coming up where we kind of rehash some of the things that we did on the show here. But different audience there. So we invite you to join us here and see if we can pull that one off. And then later on, Mike Mayo's Lunchbox at 12 o'clock. That's coming up from the home bases today. And then tomorrow, this is his go-to place, right? Heritage.
He loves Heritage. He's talked a lot about it. A lot of people around town have talked about it. I'm super stoked to be getting out to Heritage.
No, are they not open for lunch normally, and we're just getting the old special treatment like we do at Casa Calabria?
Yeah, that may be the case. I'm not going to lie. I don't know if they're a lunch place. It doesn't feel like they're a lunch place.
I want to say no to that. That they're not commonly open for lunch or never are. And
They open at 11:30. Okay, so they
like I said, they're open for lunch every day with a happy hour that is unparalleled except by Tropical Acres. No, but we'll have that for you later on today. And then tomorrow, we begin a little bit of a road run with that show with the Heritage, which, look, you know what? I have to see what people are talking about, Lubie. It's a great opportunity there for me because I don't know that I'm inclined to make that part of my regular itinerary, my cycle of restaurants that I like to go to when I'm looking for something, upscale, so to speak. But, we'll see. Maybe it'll win me over. I would imagine so, right?
Yep.
All of the places we go have been fantastic. So, and then Wicked Cheesesteaks, another one of our favorites.
Thursday, we love Wicked.
Thursday. All right, we're coming back to wrap things up. All of this NBA talk. What do you think? Did we lose everybody, Lubie?
No,
you're good on this stuff. I mean, you really come out and shine on this.
I can talk about all of it. I can talk about any of it.
Shit out there, yeah.
I look. The Heat have found a way the last 2 years, so I don't really get angry anymore when stuff doesn't work out. I'm just confused from the Blazers' perspective.
You didn't want to say, see them kind of. I know they made the finals last year, so you're saying, well, geez, they can only do like a little bit better than that. Came close to winning a championship, but it wasn't the most entertaining season of Heat basketball. It seemed like people were more depressed about the Heat.
The season sucked. What do you mean? That's what's so funny about where we are.
Yeah.
Because Julian's giving me crap for never being hard on Butler. I hated them this year.
Yeah, nobody was, more outraged by the type of play that they were exhibiting.
Done. After that Hawks game where they couldn't even close out and get the 7th, it was like, okay, fuck it.
Wow.
Just lose to the Raptors.
And then they were losing to the Bulls there, who were like the number 13 seed that somehow qualified for the postseason. Unbelievable.
Season. Let's just call it. This is
teams that were in the lottery were like ahead of them in the postseason. All right, we're coming back with more in a moment here on the Defo Show. Now that
the time.
It's 9:29. Ponies in Style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in Plantation, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar, and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Are you looking to buy your first home? Have you been turned down for a loan? Do you need to refinance or get money out of your home? Call Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. He's been helping the South Florida community get mortgages for 30 years.
Hi, this is Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. We have the most competitive fixed rates in the market. Call me 24/7, 561-441-2730. And remember, I don't just work banking hours. Make the right choice for your home. Call Choice Mortgage today.
Gamble in anger.
She hit the daily.
Very calm. Think it through. If you need a little help, don't gamble in anger.
I get a panic phone call, and he says, "Do you have any extra cash?" I go, "Yeah, I brought money with me to Atlantic City." He goes, "Well, I can't get any more out of the card because the Mustang went wild and emptied the daily allotment of cash."
Double nickels, man. She went for a nickel on her card and a nickel on mine.
The best way to kick off your day is with Defo plus Lubie. We now return to the Defo Show.
I remember scrambling back to the Borgata there, which was the only place to cash the ticket, and immediately grabbing the 8 or so sticks I think I had coming my way so I could replenish my bankroll and go back and throw it away in a video poker machine. That one carousel kills you sometimes. I mean, that one carousel of video poker machines at Harrah's in Atlantic City. I don't know how many rotations or orbits I've made around there. But my theory is if a machine hits, get up and leave right away and go to the next machine and see if you can't take something down. And that's worked for me both, favorably and very unfavorably. As sometimes you go from machine to machine and I never sit down on a machine where it looks like somebody cashed and then walked away. Like if the payoff, it says just paid out like $600, you're thinking that'll never hit again. I mean, it'll be another leap year or so before that machine pays off again. Otherwise, they just put them, on a van and then take them right to the airport there and ship them off to Caracas or something, right? Next thing you know, you're seeing Air Venezuela, and there's that slot machine on it. Speaking of odds, 50-1 you get on the Marlins to win the World Series. 50-1. What would you say? Is that a generous offering? Could it be 1,000-1? It wouldn't make any difference. That would you say no way, Jose Canseco, that the Marlins win the World Series this year? You would think with the pitching staff that this was going to be the thing that carried them in somewhat disarray. They have a tendency to also be in a coma until the 8th inning of a ball game.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden they get some kind of, they get like Panama Lewis comes into the dugout and says, here, drink this. All of a sudden the guy's dick is hard in the corner there. What do you got here, Panama? Cuts the stuffing out of the gloves. The guy goes out there, scores a late round knockout after getting the shit knocked out of him the entire fight. 50-1.
I mean, look, it is the playoffs. They did get there. They did win over 80 games. It's fine. So I don't know how much more than 50-1 it should be. It's just hard for me to fathom them putting that lineup and that rotation out in the Major League Baseball playoffs.
Who's in the rotation at this point? We don't even know.
I can tell you the three guys that they're going to probably try out there: Luzardo, Garrett, and Cabrera, and all three pitched well the last month. But when you look at the names of the other pitchers, it's guys that have played in the playoffs. Wheeler's been around a long time now. Like the Braves guys have won World Series. Like it's just hard to look at what's in just the National League alone and be like, okay, it's like what doesn't fit here.
Common thread in the series, Dave Dombrowski, of course, architect of the origins of the Marlins. And, within 5 years, he said, hey, listen, man, I love Dave because he's like, fuck the farm system.
Yeah.
He really doesn't care. It's like win now and then deal with the consequences later on.
It's very Riley.
At least you've won. Yes.
It's very Riley, actually. The way he does it, he did it with the Marlins, the Tigers. He's now done it with the Phillies, where I'm going to go and win now. I don't really give a shit about the guy who has to deal with this in 10 years.
Yeah. I mean, get me, Miggy Cabrera when he's with Detroit. He sort of has hovered around this Marlins organization and, sort of not necessarily a distant way, but, he makes that big deal with Detroit when he's the general manager there. And he just always is looking to go ahead and see what he can do to put a winning team on the field right now.
Yes.
Kind of weird, too. I mean, can you see Dombrowski? This must offend his baseball sensibilities to degrees that we can't even imagine, right? Where your leadoff hitter is batting 189. Is Schwarber even hitting 189? He might have even dropped off from that. 189.
I looked it up the other day after you said it, and I was sick to my stomach. Yeah, he's hitting like 189.
189. I'm sure he either led the league or was right up there in terms of strikeouts. Had a lot of at bats. He does supposedly. I guess
he's hitting 197, but it was 47 home runs. That was the thing you were talking about. He's hitting 47 home runs.
Does it have his number of strikeouts this year? How many times he struck out? But he also draws a lot of walks, which is kind of interesting because he strikes out
215. It was a career high, actually. 215.
Okay, how many times did he walk, Schwarber?
126. So
okay.
Almost,
think about that. I mean, like a 200 hit season would be remarkable. If a guy, even if he was like Louis Arias, mostly a singles hitter, gets 200 hits in a season, you're saying, great, that this guy walked 126 times.
Yeah, he got on base.
Crazy. And then hits 47 or whatever was that? 47 home runs?
47, yeah.
And you have a $189 leadoff hitter.
It's just the average is weird. Like, how do you have 197?
Dombrowski would have had nightmares about that as a kid. No? I mean, give me Lou Brock. Give me Maury Wills. Give me Ricky Henderson. Give me a real leadoff hitter.
Yeah.
Give me Bobby Richardson, man, when he was with the Yankees all those years. I mean, a reliable leadoff hitter that when he came up in his spot later in a ball game where, he had to get a base hit with two guys on, second and third, two away, he was going to wrap one back up the middle there and just bring home the 2 runs. Do what you need to do to win ball games. Listen to me, man, Mr. Baseball. I sound like fucking Showalter here. Let's do the little things. Got to do the little things, Lubie. Got to do the little things. All right. We're going to get out of here, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. And then Thursday, of course, we'll have the Trivia Challenge, Dave Gergel's Gurgly Friday, Degenerate Friday.
Yes.
A lot of football to analyze on that particular program, so please feel free to join us. The new start time. I don't know. Is it working out, Louie? 8 o'clock? It's working out for me. I don't know about, I would imagine for you, too.
Our numbers are the same, so why not sleep in? I'd rather sleep in.
All right. Sounds good to me. Yeah.
We have a lot cooking, so I'd rather just, like you said, bring
could
it all
be changes on the horizon again, Louie. Unbelievable.
I mean,
we have some thinking to do.
So I'd rather everything just be together. Like instead of having gaps in our day,
yeah.
Just
it's much better this way. Yeah, all the way through. No doubt about it. Yeah.
And then be done. Yeah.
Get a little more sleep at night and not have to crash out immediately after the show where you go, my God, I'm about to take a dive.
There you go.
All right. We will see you tomorrow and also later on today. Mike Mayo's Lunchbox, 12 o'clock right here, South Florida Live. Let's Eat South Florida group. I like Gretchen. I like her a lot more than Mayo. What do you think? As an administrator of the group.
She's level-headed. Mayo,
Mayo's
gets involved. It's like, dude, you're supposed to be unbiased and objective. You're not supposed to be going at it with
it may as well be Mike Mussolini. I mean, the way that he runs that thing.
You're like,
crazy.
Into it and it's like fighting.
Did you talk to a manager?
I'm like, what are you doing?
I never call for the manager. Do you? I mean,
it's weird.
Never go, you know what? I got to see a manager right now. This broccoli is fucking cold.
I also don't go on websites and as they say, flame. So, yes.
No, I mean, look, you get some vegetables that come out a little bit raw there. They're not steamed to perfection. Well, what are you going to do? You're going to write like, some Shakespearean soliloquy about it? Crying that you didn't get a freebie because your carrots weren't cooked?
The other guy, literally bitched about, I guess Heritage is like a nice place, but Italian restaurants, they have the Parmesan cheese in the goddamn little glass.
Oh yeah, that's fine.
Who gives a shit? Like, why would that?
That kind of is a nice touch in a way, yeah. From
is nice, like
pompous arrogance, right? They come in some kind of gold container. I get the fuck out of here. Just shake it on there. I want to see it.
I'm like, dude, you guys find reasons to bitch.
I like that, man.
Who cares?
I mean, have like a sort of low-key feel to a high-end place.
Yes. Why is that bad?
That's how the even keel is, man. I mean, it's got like
100%.
that funky keys feel to it, and yet at the same time, they're serving some high-end shit. It's great.
Yes.
All right, we'll see you later on Mike Mayo's Lunchbox. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. For Mike Lubie, Lubitz, Jeff DeForest. We'll see you next time as we leave you now that.
The time.
It's 9:39.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my soul.